Hello YouTube. It's been a long time since I have done a video here. I've actually been on holiday for the last few months. I spent my first month in the United States, flew back to the UK, stayed here for about 2 weeks, and then flew to Zimbabwe where I stayed there for just over a month. And I have to say it was the most amazing experience of my time, of my life. And I spent my time in Bulawayo, Gweru, Harare, Victoria Falls, Nyanga, Mutare, and the Vumba Mountains, and all those really nice areas. And it was really, really amazing. And I have to say, it was the first time I ever saw Zimbabwe in what I would call its true beauty. I never knew that Zimbabwe was just that beautiful, and I just loved it. And if you do want to check out the pictures of all the places I went to, just go to my website www.myzim.com and you will see all the amazing pictures. But nonetheless, I'm just going to report back to the things I saw when I went to Zimbabwe. First of all, the economy has changed immensely. You could walk into a shop and you'll buy anything you want. I remember we were once in the Vumba Mountains, and if you've been there, you know this place is really remote. Out there in the mountains, you know, it's just extremely remote. We went to Leopard Rock Hotel and all these different places, and you would be driving up through the mountains and you would see a petrol station, and the petrol station is full. You know, there's petrol, there's diesel, there's food in the shop and all that. But then I remember in 2005, you could walk into Gweru city center and not get petrol. So it shows the big difference where back in the day, even in the largest of metropolis in Harare, you could not find petrol or diesel, let alone bread. But this time I was out there in the mountains and everything was there, everything I could imagine. It was really amazing to see. And in terms of prices, you can tell that inflation has really been tamed. When it comes to prices of the food that is produced in Zimbabwe, you'll see that food prices were actually falling. Things were like exceptionally cheap, especially when I compared prices to the prices we have in the UK. They were very, very cheap. I remember once we bought a 24 pack of Coca-Cola cans. A 24 pack, and this cost less than $10. A 24 pack. Now that's really crazy. I remember in 2005, you would struggle to get, let alone 10 cans for $10. So, things have really changed. When it comes to production, you can see that businesses are really fledgling. They're really beginning to spread their wings, in a sense. And it was really amazing and exciting to see that. When it comes to things like street cleaning, in 2005, I didn't see a single street cleaner in Zimbabwe. I don't even know how they kept the place, the place clean. But when I was there were street cleaners everywhere. And if you go and check out the photos, you will see how exceptionally clean every place I went to was. You will see things like roads. They started patching roads again, potholes. And they started constructing new roads as well. And before I left, they were now piloting the new scheme where you pay to use the roads, the toll roads, and you can see that that's going to make a very big difference. And again, the huge confidence in the people, and politically speaking as well. I remember I saw a dozen people in the different cities where you would see someone walking in the street with an MDC t-shirt that clearly says Morgan Tsvangirai for president, and the person's walking freely, and you could see ZANU-PF people walking with their shirts, and people, they just leave them to be. And it was really amazing to see the way that the polarization has really abated in Zimbabwe. And I don't know if there's anything I can really report back from my summer in Zimbabwe. It's simply that things have really changed beyond recognition. But nonetheless, there are some things that, you know, still need a lot of work, especially media in Zimbabwe. Watching ZBC, you will feel like puking because it's extremely, extremely, extremely pro-ZANU-PF and anti-MDC. You can just tell it. But I guess no one really expected the ZBC to change that quickly. But a positive thing when it comes to the media is newspapers like the Zimbabwean. You could walk in the street anywhere where you go. The Zimbabwean, which is an independent publication, is freely flowing in Zimbabwe. You look at South African newspapers, freely flowing with the new 0% tax import duty on newspapers. And with that, you see that the newspaper industry in Zimbabwe has really changed. With the few independent newspapers that I was seeing in the streets that were very anti ZANU-PF and anti-establishment. You know, some of them had really scary headlines like Mugabe needs to quit or something like that. But you would see that paper in circulation in central Harare and everywhere else in the country. So it was really, really good to see those things. But nonetheless, as I said, with the Herald and all the other publications, there's still a lot of change to be made. And, you know, my trip was really amazing. As I said, I saw Zimbabwe in its true beauty, and I saw the change that is in Zimbabwe. And one thing that I did see is that Zimbabwe is a place where if you are an investor, I really think that it's really the time to go in. Like, I was there and I was just looking at the different things that people were doing, the different investments people were making. And I remember some people started supermarkets in Zimbabwe, like in Gweru. That's another thing. If you're going to Gweru, I think we now have at least 10 supermarkets in the city center of Gweru. In 1997 or 1999, we literally had 2 or 3 big supermarkets in Gweru, and that was probably OK, Spar, and you know, this, I don't know, other little supermarkets. But these days there are at least 10 very big supermarkets. You can tell that the food industry had a huge boom, and a lot of people made a lot of money and are still making a lot of money, especially with the introduction of the US dollar. And we were just viewing properties. You could buy a house in Zimbabwe for, let's say, $15,000 in a high density area, and you could lease the place to students. Basically, you could put bunk beds and lease it to a couple of students, and you could end up earning up to $500 a month. And that's an investment of $15,000 in a house, and you're earning $500 a month. Now, I know in the UK, you can buy a house for £100,000 and make £500 a month. And when you look at the return on investment, it's huge. So yeah, I just have a lot of hope for Zimbabwe, and you will see in my other coming videos where I will just explore the concept of are we gonna have real change? Because there's change now, but by the time we have elections, is this change gonna remain? And that's a big concern I have. But yeah. So do check out myzim.com, check out the pictures and tell me what you think about the pictures of Zimbabwe, and I'm sure you will love them. There are literally thousands of pictures there. And yeah, that was my little report back of my summer in Zimbabwe.